Hello and welcome, and thank you very much for joining the third of our sessions of webinars that we're running this week. We've run the piece a little earlier on, which hopefully has been successful for you. If you joined it, it was the Teams overview session where we talked a little bit around the whole of the Teams environment, very briefly from a high level point of view. That session is still available, of course. You can click on that link and visit it and review that webinar at any point in time. The question and answer sessions will be open on that too. Today we're running this session on collaborating with your team using Teams. This is the extra piece of Teams which you may have been using in the past. As I mentioned on the overview session, Teams has the capabilities that Skype for Business had for presence and status and calling and chat and meetings. And Teams has all of that. The session prior to this one, we just did a bit of a deeper dive into Teams meetings. On this session, we're looking at actually using one of the core functionalities of Teams, which is how we can collaborate together as a team of people. And so that's what we're going to be talking about in this session. It's about a half hour long. I'm going to do a quick bit of housekeeping, if I can, around the session a little bit, just to bring it into space. What we're looking at is a session that doesn't actually started a little early, so apologies for that. What I've done here is put together a little bit of a snapshot of what things look like from a point of view of what the Skype broadcast solution is that we're using to present these webinars. So you'll notice that in the top left-hand corner, it should be telling you the title of the session that we're running today. You'll see in the main window what we're displaying at the moment, which is this kind of demo slide deck. Obviously, as we move into the live part of the session, we'll do that in a slightly different way. And we can actually see what's going on in Teams. Towards the bottom of that, you'll notice there are a couple of buttons that you can use to play and pause. If you want to pause the session so that you can go back and listen to what we were talking about in the past, that's just fine. If you want to rewind or at any point as well, you can go backwards and forwards through the webinar as you see fit. And you can see that the timestamp there at the bottom will tell you how far you are through the broadcast. Seeing as I have had some fun and got things started and running a little early, perhaps we may run over a little time so that we can capture any questions that may have come in. Towards the right hand side of that is a little area which shows you the way in which you can mute if you wish, so that you can stop listening to the session if you need to do that quickly, or change the volume. And then towards the right of that, you've got a diagonal arrow which allows you to make this whole thing full screen in case what you're looking at is a little bit small. Moving towards the top of the broadcast window, we have the support piece, which allows you to go through to Skype broadcast support if you're experiencing any issues. If perhaps the video freezes, I would suggest restarting or refreshing your browser window. That may help you with that. And then to the right of that, there is a link through to our Cadence Innova website, where you'll find out more information about us as an organization. Be able to contact us if you need any more help or assistance, or you'd like to discuss anything. Please do go through to the website and we can help you there. Just to the top right of that website link, you'll find there are a couple of little arrows pointing to the right. That will hide the Q&A window, which you can see on the right hand side as well. Again, if you need a little bit more space to see what's going on, you might want to do that. Then that's fine. You can use the same arrows in reverse to then show you the Q&A panel. And then, as I say, the Q&A panel sitting on the right hand side. And you can type in your name if you wish, or you don't have to. Put in a question. You can ask it with your name or ask it anonymously. We will then see and respond to those questions. And we may even, if it's a really good question, we might choose to broadcast it. The one thing I would say is that you can put in questions when the webinar is finished live. So you may be watching this just by clicking on the link at some point in the future. That's fine. The Q&A window will stay open from time to time, and we will be able to answer your questions at any time if you post through that window. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Let's crack straight on with what we're talking about, which is using Teams and how we'd actually use that to collaborate as a team of people. Let's just make sure that we've got everything lined up to do that. And let's just make sure that we've got everyone aware of what's going on. So this is, as I say, collaborating with teams. Let's switch across to what Teams looks like when you're working within a team. So this is what Teams looks like. I've clicked on that Teams icon in the left-hand rail here. Make that full screen to make it a little easier to see. So I'm a member of one team at the moment, the team demo, and that's got a couple of channels connected to it. Before I go deeply diving into Teams, let me just say that some of you may have been using chat as a way of keeping your team together. So for example, here I have a chat that I've been having as a one-to-one chat with Louisa. What I can do is I can go to the right-hand corner of Teams, click on the little plus sign, and that allows me to put in a name, so I can add somebody else to the chat if I decided to. Let's suppose I'm going to add my friend and colleague Harry, and I can just choose him to add. Now, what that's done is it's now shown me that I've got both Harry and Louisa in this chat, and that's fine. I can add more people to it if I wanted to, but some people tend to use that as a way of chatting between people. I'm just going to post out a quick message to them, just saying, just added Harry, if I can type properly, which is proving a challenge today, as it is for all. So once I've done that, I can say I've just added chat Harry. And once I've posted a message to those two people, one of the things that you should notice is at the top here, I've now got a little pen next to Harry and Louisa's name. So if I wanted to keep Harry and Louisa just as a little group, a bit like you do in WhatsApp, I can choose to now rename that as the gang. If I choose to save that, now when I have a chat with those two people, or anybody I want to in that gang, then I of course can see that I've got a message come in from the gang. A lot of people use Teams that way to collaborate together, and that's fine. One thing you'll notice is we've been talking a little bit in the overview sessions about tabs across the top of Teams chats or Teams windows. That allows you to add a little bit more content to what's going on. And with this particular group chat, you'll notice I've got a files tab, and that's pretty much about it. What I can do is I can upload some files or share some files from my OneDrive with that chat. But that's pretty much it. There's no central place where my files have been kept or stored. It's really very much a case of we're kind of collaborating ad hoc, if you like. I can add more tabs if I wanted to. Let's suppose I did want to add a website, perhaps. Let's say it's the Cadence site. If I want to pop in the URL to that Cadence site, that's www without too many W's. cadence.innova.com. I can help. And that allows me to then save that. I can post to the chat about this tab, and I've added in a tab through to our site, which is quite simple and straightforward. Back to my chat, you'll notice that it has sent out an alert saying that I've added a tab to the top of this chat. So this is a valid way of collaborating with a group of people. The problem is that there is nothing centrally stored with that group of people. So it's a disparate group. It's ad hoc, if you like. I can choose to add more people to the group if I want to. I can, if I wanted to, start up a video call directly with this group of people. So if I hit the video button, that would immediately start a video call between me and the people who are in this group chat, which is Harry and Louisa. I could do the same with a phone call if I wanted to, and I could also display or share my screen or a program if I wanted to as well. So that's fine. But when it's actually more useful to leverage the full functionality of Teams to bring a team of people together and start to collaborate. So that's why having a team or creating a team could have a benefit for you. And typically you would create a team for a team of people or a group of people that have a similar thing that they need to collaborate on. You can be as members of almost as many teams as you like. But the other advantage is that it comes with a whole bunch of extra Office 365 features baked in to each team. So you'll notice that across the tabs on my general channel in my team, so when I create the team, I'll always get a general channel, and that's where all general conversations can take place. I've now got posts, I've got files because it's given me a SharePoint site in the SharePoint area. So if I wanted to share and collaborate on files with this team of people, I've got a central place that they can go to. The team knows that they can always go to one place in the team, get to any files that you're trying to share or collaborate on. You can create a simple wiki if you wish, and again you can add more tabs. Those tabs don't need to be a website. They could be that you're leveraging Power BI, or you have a particular PDF document, or maybe a OneNote notebook that you want to put across as a tab across the top of the screen there. It could even just be an Excel spreadsheet or a document library from a different SharePoint site. You can do all of that by just clicking on the plus sign next to tab, in the tab area at the top. If I go back to posts, there are a slight difference between posts in a team and just general chat. When you've been doing general chat, you'll have noticed the icons across the bottom here, which allow you to set some formatting, for example, add a sticker if I wanted to, potentially add a smiley emoji or a guy with a pair of sunglasses on, seeing as it's a fairly sunglassy and sunshiny day today. I could choose to do that, and that's great. But you'll notice that really and truly, those are the only options available to you in a chat window. So another great reason for using a team to collaborate and post on is that this is now called posts rather than chats, because there is a bit more functionality to it. You can still see the same icons across the bottom, so I could use the emojis or stickers if I wanted to. But if I choose the format option, the little A with the little pen or paintbrush next to it, you'll notice I've now got some options to add a subject. So I can say, "This is great," as a subject, and then I can start a conversation around that topic or that subject, and say, "Yes, it is," and I can choose to post that. If I wanted even more of a way of grabbing people's attention, what I can do is, you'll notice here it says new conversation, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to drop down and say I could choose a new announcement, which gives me even more granularity, and I can type a headline into it to drag people's attention a little bit more into the thing that I'm trying to post. So this is just posting a quick announcement, and it's just, or a quick subject, and people can now cheerfully start typing away and replying to that. The difference is, you'll notice that there is now a reply button at the bottom of this post. So the difference between chats, whether it's one-to-one or as a group of people, it's a little bit different when you're in the chat window. You'll notice that all I can do is post a message. I can't reply to anything that anybody has already posted. That can mean you can lose a little bit of the thread, and that's why Teams is perhaps a little bit more effective to create the team, because I can now reply to this subject and say, "Yes, it is, get it sorted," or something similar. So I'm just going to click on the reply button and say, "This is indeed great." And I can post that if I wanted to, which is fine. You'll notice that that then keeps this conversation together. And one thing that people who are quite new to working inside a team miss is that they miss that reply option is there, and they start a new conversation when they actually meant to reply to that particular thread. So that generally takes us around posts. There's one more thing I wanted to talk about, which was @mentions in Teams. So you may use Twitter or Facebook and be familiar with, or even Outlook, which offers the same functionality to draw somebody's attention to something in an Outlook message. I can choose to @mention somebody in the team. They need to be in the team. So Louisa, for example, I could choose to mention, and it would be, "Can you work on this?" ? Or something similar. So that allows me to draw attention to Louisa that I'm posting something in the team that I'd like her to do. It also means it will appear in her activity feed. If you're not familiar with the activity feed, when you are mentioned or something is happening as a notification is concerned, they will appear in your activity feed if you configured things to do that. Typically, when you're mentioned or the team is mentioned by default, that will appear in the activity feed so that you can see activities happening in a team if you want to keep particular track on it. So I'm just going to post that. That, as I say, will have posted that into Louisa's activity feed. What I can do is I can choose to mention the whole team, of course. So if I mention team demo, what that will do is that will again pop into everybody's activity feed if they've mentioned, if they're part of the team, and I can say call to arms or something similar, and that will then make sure it appears again, as I say, in their activity feed, and this will then appear in that general channel. If I wanted to, I'll post that one for a second. If I wanted to mention a channel, which is, remember that way of splitting up underneath your team, you may want to have different channels for different topics or different aspects. For example, if I had the marketing team, I might want to have campaigns, I might want to have support, I might want to have training, for example, as channels. Each channel allows me to have a separate set of tabs. So you'll notice these tabs in the marketing channel are different to the tabs that are appearing, of course, in the general channel. But also I can choose, if I want to, from anywhere, I could mention the channel as well. So I could, for example, say at marketing, and that recognizes that that channel is there. And then I could post that message so that I'm dragging attention to people who are keeping an eye on that channel, and that allows that to then appear in the and draw attention to the marketing channel. You can see that some conversations have been having a little happening along the way as well there, a little bit. And if I look at my activity feed, I noticed it popped up at the top there. Remember, you can react to anything. Louisa, who I forgot to actually introduce a little earlier on, who has joined me to look at make sure I'm keeping on the right track, and also looking at any questions that may come through on the session. Sorry, Louisa, I did mean to introduce you. Hello.
Hello, no problem.
Excellent, thank you very much.
No
have we had any
questions.
questions come through yet? No, that's okay.
No questions so far.
Okie dokie, thank you very much. They may flood through a little bit later on, but that's okay. We'll carry on for the moment. Thank you very much, Louisa, my partner in crime, as I say, keeping me honest. So Louisa's reacted to my posts, which is brilliant. Remember, if you hover over a post, you will find that you also have reactions that you can apply to a post, and they're quite useful. The reason why reactions are handy is because instead of saying thanks or yes or great, you can just give a reaction and people can then start to see that you've looked and acknowledged that post perhaps, and are doing what you need to do with it, or have found it to be an interesting post. A couple of other things around posts which may be helpful to you if you've just started working within Teams. You'll notice here that the team was mentioned. So it shows me that I mentioned in this particular post that the team was mentioned in the particular post as well. And that will reflect in Teams. If somebody posts something to a channel, it will usually show a number next to it to tell you something has been posted to it and go bold. And if you're not seeing things in your activity feed that you want to see, there are a couple of places to check. One of them is against each channel by default. You will see there are some triple dots, and you have some options to pin that channel to the top of your list if you wish. Because I own this particular team, I can choose to manage the channel. I can also choose to get an email address for the channel. So for example, if I wanted to allow people to send an email through to this channel so that we can have a conversation about it, that's how you would get the email address for that channel if you wanted to. You'll also notice that you can get a link to the channel. So if you want to post to somebody and say, come and join into this conversation that's going on in this channel, you can choose to do that. The bit that I wanted to draw your attention to off the triple dots though was channel notifications. So by default, all new posts will usually be turned off. So anything that comes in to your team, and your organization may have changed some of this, but typically by default, that means that anything that gets posted to that team, I don't get notified about unless somebody mentions the team or the channel. As you can see, if channel mentions are posted, it appears as a banner and a feed. The banner being in the bottom right hand corner, it'll pop up, and obviously the feed being your activity feed. So typically if it's a channel that I want to keep a close eye on the posts that are going into it, I may choose to say only show in feed anytime anybody posts to the channel, whether they mention it or not. And that means you can then very much keep an eye on your activity feed to see if anything is going on in that feed there. Louisa, if you feel like throwing in a few mentions and a few chats into the channel and mentioning it, that'd be handy. That should start to build up my activity feed a little bit, which might be handy to show people. So we've looked around posting and we've looked around the notifications, and that hopefully has made a little bit of sense. Looking at, as I say, this files area, every team you create will get an associated set of Office 365 options and functions. One of them is a SharePoint site. One of them is a planner, and one of them is a OneNote notebook as well. So you get all of those things in one place built into the team to start with. Again, your organization may have changed things slightly with templates, so you may or may not see some of those features, and you may have extra features as well. Little pop-up appearing in the bottom right-hand corner there. That's Louisa mentioning the channel for me. Thank you very much, Louisa. You'll notice it's gone bold over here. I've got a number next to it telling me that I've got something in the general channel that I may not have acknowledged or looked at yet. And you'll also notice that Teams has got a little @ sign next to it on the actual button in the left-hand nav. That tells me that somebody has mentioned one of the teams or channels that I'm a member of. And as I say, the activity activity indicator is lit up as well. I've got 2 in there now. Louisa's just mentioning the 2 channels that we've got. They've both gone bold. If I click to my activity feed, I can see that she mentioned it there. Thank you for adding me to the team. Excellent. My distinct pleasure. I'll give you a heart for that one. And also this one up here, my PowerPoint should be ready soon. That is excellent news. I can just react to that if I want to. So back to the things that come with your team once you create it. As I say, typically one of the biggest advantages of the team is you get a central SharePoint site that you can start to collaborate and share with files on. If I choose to upload something, for example, I can choose to go to perhaps a travel document. I've got anything in there? No, I haven't got anything in there. Let's look and see if I've got a template document here. So this is a PowerPoint document. I had it on my desktop. I'm just choosing to upload it into the SharePoint site, which you can see is there. It's uploaded it. And this interface designed to look very much like the SharePoint interface. So you see that you've got the same options that you would normally see here to create something new. If I wanted to create a new Word document or an Excel document, I could, for example. I could choose to synchronize it with my PC. I could choose to copy it and download it as well. One of the things that you may want to do is you may want to actually look at it in real SharePoint. And if luck is following me with a wind, which I'm hoping it is, I'm just going to sign in to this area here. It's going to ask me for a password, and hopefully I can stay signed in. And what that will do is it will take me through to the SharePoint site. So if you want to look at the real SharePoint site behind the team, you can of course choose to do that. And that's by clicking on the triple dots. As I have mentioned in the past, Teams has triple dots all over the place. And that may or may not appear depending on your screen resolution. You should see the open in SharePoint option, and that then takes you through to the full-blown SharePoint site of the team. And you'll notice it tells me what the team is. You'll also notice it's a public group. I'll talk a little bit about public and creating teams in a second or two. So I can now start to collaborate on this particular document. Anybody in the team is a permissions boundary, as it's known. So anybody in the team has access to the team's resources and has access to all of the team's resources. So as soon as you add somebody to the team, that means they can see the SharePoint site, the planner, the notebook. They can see all the channels and posts that are appearing if you wish to. There is a caveat to that, and that caveat is that you can create what's called a private channel. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. I just want to make sure that everyone kind of grabs the feeling that each of your channels inside a team has access to the SharePoint site. And you'll notice that if you look at documents at the top level, if you like, each of the channels has been given a separate folder. So if I post something when I'm looking at the marketing channel, for example, where I am, I believe I'm in the marketing channel indeed. If I go to files in marketing, that at the moment is currently got the thing that I posted into it. So if I go into my browser session and I go through into the marketing folder, then I will see exactly the same thing again. So SharePoint and all of the advantages that come with SharePoint, we're not doing particularly a session on that at the moment, but if you have an interest for it, please do let us know through the website and contact us that way, or potentially drop us a note into the question and answer window. Then we can talk a little bit further about some of the other things that go behind the scenes. But that was pretty much it from a files and posts point of view in a team. So a couple of things then from a housekeeping point of view about how to look after your team may be useful. So again, the triple dots at the top next to the team, if you are the owner of a team, you will have some options to be able to potentially add members, potentially edit the team, etc., etc. Now, one of the things that you will notice is if you're not an owner of the team, you can't do that. If I click on Manage Team, I can see exactly how that looks at the moment. So at the moment, I've got me as an owner, and if I then expand the members and guests, I've got Louisa sitting in there as well. You'll also notice over in the right hand corner it says it's got a little I symbol and then org. That means anybody in this organization, in your organization, can see this team and can choose to join it if they want to. They don't have to be a member of it to join it. They need to simply choose to find the team and then join it and look at what's going on in it if they want to. What you may want to do is you may want to create, instead of a public team, a private team, which is just limited to the people that you choose to put into the team. So only members and owners can see the team, can access the resources in that team, and you would need to invite other people to the team as an owner, and that would then allow them to see what's in the team. But a private team, people can't see anything unless they're added in to the team membership in the first place. One of the other things I'd point out is that instead of, you'll notice the add member button at the top right hand corner here, I can choose to add not only people inside my organization, but people outside my organization as well. It may well be that you want to share perhaps or collaborate with a group of people that aren't inside your organization, but you all kind of want to come together as much as you possibly can. And depending on your organization, you may or may not be allowed to add people externally. Now, in my particular case, it looks like I've set up my test and demo session teams to not necessarily allow that. But you would be able to add your external person's email address into that. And then if they have teams, they can then choose to see what's going on in your team. You can collaborate in that team and switch very quickly between where you're a guest and where you're actually part of the actual organization. And you'll notice when you've been added into external teams, you'll see a little link next to your name in the top right hand corner, and that allows you to see Cadence Labs, which is the organization I'm in, or Cadence Guest, because I've actually been added to a team in another organization. We're just going to switch across to that organization now. So this is a team that's sitting inside our organization that I've been added to. I'm a guest, so I only have certain access to this. I can't necessarily, of course, choose to add members to the team because I'm not an owner of the team. But it means that I can quickly collaborate with people inside my organization and outside my organization. And if somebody posted to this group, I would start to see numbers appearing here to let me know that a team that I'm a guest of has had some activity. And it's very quick to switch backwards between the two. I'll pop back to Cadence Labs, and that takes me back to my organization, and you can see that I'm looking at my team here. So the last piece that I'll talk about very quickly is joining or creating a team. So at the bottom of the list of teams that you may be a member of already, you can choose to create a team. And in there, you'll see there is a create a team option. There are a number of different ways in which you can do it. You may have been using Office 365 groups, which has been a great way of collaborating together through Outlook, leveraging things like a SharePoint site. You may have used that in the past. You might want to add Teams functionality to that group so that you can start to collaborate real time inside Teams. You can do that, or typically you're going to build a team from scratch, and you then need to choose whether it's public, private, or organization wide. So public means anyone in your organization can join that one. Organization wide, which is a relatively new feature, means that everyone in your organization automatically joins. So if I created a group, for example, or a team, and I wanted it to be all the marketing department or all my organization, the limits on the number of people who can be a member of a team is just about to be lifted to 10,000 in the next month or so. I could then choose to make that an organization-wide team. What I'd recommend is, unless there is a need to or a want to keep everything public in your organization, is typically you'll create a private team. I'm going to call this private team, funnily enough, and imaginatively enough, private team. And I could give it a description if I wish. And as soon as I hit the create button, that will create the team, that will create the SharePoint site and all the associated Office 365 stuff that goes with it. I can choose to add people to that team now, or I can choose to skip that option. And you'll notice that immediately I have another team and that's operational. It doesn't take very long. Your organization may have some restrictions on that, but once you've created the team, you'll find you can, you've got some shortcuts here to remind you of some things that you need to do. So if I add to more people or create more channels or open the FAQs, for example, excuse me, then that will allow me to get a bit more information about how to work with and handle my team. So it might help you a little bit. Top right hand corner, you'll remember that I had that little eyeball and then it said the word org in my other team in team demos. That means it was actually, let's pop back there. You'll notice that's a public or an organization wide. It's accessible to anyone in my organization, whereas in my private team, again, if I go into the actual channel itself, and then it says that this content is only accessible to team members. Again, that could be inside or outside the organization if you wish. The last piece that I would then probably try to point out to you is I talked earlier on about how everybody can see everything in all of these channels. A relatively new feature to Teams is it allows you to create a private channel. So if I choose to add channel, I can choose to add instead of a normal channel and standard channel, I can make it a private channel. That doesn't mean you can add people outside the team into this channel. Everybody needs to be a member of the team, but this channel can be a subset of that team. So if I was creating a team for the marketing department and I had my managers working for me as well, and I wanted to leverage one team, but I wanted to keep the stuff that we're talking about as a leadership team separately, I could create a leadership team channel, leadership team channel, and I can make that private so that only people that I choose to add to that channel can access that leadership team channel. Means you don't have to create a separate team for things. Sometimes it's possibly more valid to create a separate team, but where you have a team of people and you want to have a subset of people, another good example of that is if I've shared a team with not only internal people but external people, suppliers or customers or partners, then I may want to have a private channel which just contains the people who are inside the organization, so that we can keep those conversations a bit more private. When you do that, it will create a separate SharePoint site that only members of that channel have access to. Again, I'm going to skip that option. And that now has created a private channel, and you know it's private because it's got a little padlock next to it as well. So to sum up then, really, is a couple of points that I wanted to highlight again. Yes, you can create a group chat. Yes, you can rename it and call it The Gang if you want to, very much like WhatsApp. And that allows you to have those conversations, but it does mean that it's limited to that chat type format. You don't have that reply type format, and you don't have that subjecting and additional formatting options. If we create the team, of course, that's a team of people that comes with a central place for you to store and collaborate files in SharePoint, and it comes with a number of other pieces as well. Plus the fact I get the opportunity to reply to messages and keep a thread of messages together. And one of the thrusts behind Teams was to attempt to, or hope to, reduce the number of emails that you receive. And you can now choose to do that by leveraging a team and then taking advantage of those formatting options when you're posting to the team, which allow you to add a subject or even make it an announcement if you want to. Louisa, I'm going to stop and pause there for a second because we're actually a little over time. Not that it's too much of a problem. And see if any questions have come through.
No questions.
No questions yet. Okay. That's me running through Teams meetings again or Teams and how to collaborate with them. Of course, Teams meetings was the earlier session that I did today. If you want to look at that session, you still can. Clicking on the same link will take you through to the webcast, just like it has done here. The question and answer sessions on all of our webinars this week will stay open during the working day so that you can post questions to it and we can answer you. If you do have anything else, I would suggest some of the links that I'm displaying in this slide may help you. The one that I would really recommend is support.office.com/teams, where you will find a wealth of information and video tutorials chunked into nice little bite-sized pieces. If I've perhaps overblown your brain for the last 30 minutes, then that's a great place to go. The other one that I'd also recommend actually is teamsdemo.office.com. What that allows you to do is it will show you what Teams looks like, and you can click around the Teams interface to find out what various things do, and it takes you a bit of a guided demo of what Teams does. If you're very unfamiliar with it, I'd suggest that one's quite a good one to check on. So I've covered, as I say, the main aspects of using a team and why you would want to do that. Primarily, it's because it's a permissions boundary. It keeps everybody together. You get that shared interface with the ability to post and reply and mention people. And you also, of course, get the SharePoint site and the associated Office 365 stuff behind it. So hopefully that makes it a compelling reason as to why you would want to start investigating using Teams to help your team of people collaborate. I will round up with the final one, which would say, have we had any last questions come through, Louisa?
Nope, nothing yet.
Excellent. If you do, please post your question. We'll reply to you through the question and answer window. I really appreciate you joining the webcast today. Thank you ever so much. Please stay safe and stay well, and look after yourselves. And if you have anything else you'd like to talk to us about, please go and visit our website, that link in the top right hand corner of the broadcast here, the Cadence website, and drop us a note through there, or do please get in touch with the Q&A window. It just remains for me to say thank you to Louisa for being so sterling and professional and keeping me on track.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much. And it then just remains for me to say thank you very much to everyone for attending again. Please do attend any of the other sessions. You'll find them at the same place you found this one. I hope you found it a useful session. Thank you very much. Take care and enjoy the rest of your week.